I am Jean Schumacher, founder of the Plant-Based Academy, where I provide help, support, guidance, and resources to switch to a plant-based lifestyle and get your health back. Today, I have the privilege of connecting with Angela Fischetti, who is a physical fitness and yoga instructor, as well as massage therapist specializing in wellness for older adults. And you can find her at boomerandbeyondwellness.com. Today, Angela is going to show you a comprehensive hip mobility exercise session that can be done in a chair. So with this hip mobility approach, you can effectively use your chair as a tool to incorporate all the movements of the hip joint while affecting the flexibility of the surrounding muscles. This is going to help lubricate and nourish your joints. So, Angela, that being said, thank you so much tonight for coming on with me.
Thank you for having me, Jean. I really appreciate it. And you summed it up beautifully. It's precisely that. We're focusing on mobility of a joint, because sometimes people confuse mobility with flexibility. So mobility applies to range of motion of a joint. Flexibility has to do with the lengthening of a muscle. However, everybody benefits, both mobility and flexibility, by doing these movements. So we are targeting mobility of the hip, but we're going to do them in a chair, folks. And the reason why this is a huge passion for me is with chair work. And you'll see them on my YouTube channel, which is also Boomer and Beyond Wellness. But it's just that, many people need to be in a chair for the better part of their lives. Sometimes it's for work and sometimes it's for health. But either way, this greatly affects the body. So, that expression that sitting is the new smoking. Well, I understand it and I get where they're coming from, but it's a little judgy because of the people who really have to be in a chair. So what I'm looking to do is reframe the perspective of a chair. Look at it instead as a tool for health. And this way you can make peace with your time in the chair and also put it to good use. And this is one of the ways that you can do it. You'll find chair exercises on my YouTube channel. You'll find chair yoga there, and you're going to find the mobility of the hip there as well. So I want to thank you, Jean, and I want to thank Simply Plant-Based and also members of the Plant-Based Academy. I'm a member. And so let's talk a little bit here about the accessories we'll be using today. So I'll be using, obviously, a sticky yoga mat. I'll also be using a stability ball, much like the one that Jean is bouncing up and down on right now. But the one that I sit on is that big yellow one in the back. So this one is 45 centimeters. I haven't fully blown it up. And whereas the other one that I sit on, fully blown up, is inflated, is 65 centimeters. So just to give you an idea for height-wise, I'm 5'6.5", and the 65 centimeter ball works for me. I'll also be using a yoga bolster. Must it be a bolster? No. You can use a cushion or a pillow, but make sure whatever you use is nice and wide, because this is to be for across your back and help you with support if need be. Also, I'm using a yoga strap. Now, the one I'll be using this evening is 10 feet long. I would suggest when you get a yoga strap for yourselves, not to get anything shorter than 8 feet, because sometimes you have to wind up using 2 straps when the strap isn't long enough. You can get anywhere from 8 to almost, I think, 12 or 15 feet long straps. So it's pretty great what's out there. And I'll also be using, I'm going to tuck down here to show you this, 2 yoga blocks. Now, when you use a yoga block, or I should say plural, when you use more than one block, please make sure they're the same size as each other, because sometimes people buy 2 different sizes. Now, if you're new to a block, or maybe you haven't used blocks in a while, this is level 1, level 2, and level 3. Whatever level you need for yourselves works for me. And then, well, of course, we need a chair. Now you're going to see here how my chair doesn't have any backing. It just has a frame. This is an official yoga chair, but I like it because even if it's not yoga and I have to demonstrate, put my arms through, it's a great chair for that. But just make sure you're sitting in a sturdy, standard chair. If it's a folding chair, that's fine. However, just to be safe, no wheels on your chair, even if the thing locks in place. No wheels and no arm rests because we're going to be doing stuff with the legs out wide and it can actually inhibit your movement. And finally, I'm sitting up on a cushion as well because these chairs are super hard. And there's another reason for the cushion, and I'll get into that in just a moment. Now, this moves me into the medical disclaimers and precautionary measures. And as Jean knows, this is a substantial part of my talking phase of the presentation because it is the most important part. This is where I'm going to break down about a good dozen chronic health concerns and how to approach them with modifications, etc. I am going to say something that in general, if you have any chronic concern at all, please observe the work first before participating. Look for what you can do. However, if you're not sure, then I would invite the medical healthcare practitioner who knows your body best to preview the video as well to help you make an informed decision. Now, more specific to this particular session. So the yoga mat, the yoga ball, they're made out of latex. So if you have a latex allergy, please look for non-latex or latex-free. If you have any back spine issues at all, but in particular, if you've been told not to bend down to pick up something, so this is forward flexion of the spine. This can include osteoporosis of the spine, but not exclusive to it, as well as the postural deviation known as hyperkyphosis, where you're sitting a little bit hunched or standing a little hunched. So for all of you, please do not bend down when I demonstrate something coming forward and down like that. Please, not for you. You please hold yourselves upright. Now, if you are medicated or not for hypertension, if you have vertigo or GERD, I need you to avoid this particular position of the cervical spine of the neck. Well, this too is flexion of the cervical spine. So for you folks, please keep your chin head neutral when you do the work. And frankly, folks, if you are attempting to do the work here with your device on the floor, please don't do that because it's going to cause that forward flexion of the neck. However, you're going to find your neck is going to bother you by the end of the work, and you're more than likely going to blame the work. So I've seen it on these live Zooms. Let's get your device up to eye level to protect your necks. Now, conversely, for those of you who have had a TIA or a stroke, a transient ischemic attack or a stroke, so I'm going to be doing something called modified cobra, which is like a back extension, a spine extension. And this is where, let me just set this down. This is where I'm going to really puff up the chest and lift that head up and back. Now, this is hyperextension of the cervical spine. There's nothing wrong with doing it. The neck is perfectly capable of it unless you have some kind of arthritic neck issues, etc. But for TIA stroke, I wouldn't do that, folks. I would keep the chin head level. You just don't know when it comes to those two issues. And I do need to say right here that doing the work, any of what I'm talking about, will not cause the issues, folks. So I just want you to be aware of that because I think sometimes people get scared they're going to get something because of it. No, this is just to help those of you already dealing with certain issues. If you have carpal tunnel syndrome. I need you to avoid this position of the wrist. It's called wrist extension. It doesn't matter where the arms are. It doesn't matter. I've never moved my wrist. This is wrist extension. So when I go to do that little modified cobra, I'm going to put my hands like so. That's a wrist extension. So for carpal tunnel, you folks want to wrap your fingers underneath the lip of the chair, and then your wrists are straight. It's just a safer way for you to do it. Also, if you have pinched nerve or rotator cuff muscle issues that are deep to the shoulders, and I'm going to re-invite those of you who are medicated or not for hypertension into this category. You're going to see me do a movement like this, arms up and overhead. I might do it dynamically, which means in constant movement, or I might hold it statically. But either way, if you've been told not to bring your arms up and overhead, please don't do that movement. I'm going to show you something else that you can do instead. And I think, yes, I want to mention this. For a movement like this, where my legs are open wide. Now, this is because I'm going to push my thighs toward the wall behind me. This is an external rotation, also known as a lateral rotation from that hip joint. And for those of you who have osteoporosis of the hip or have had a hip replacement, you may have been told not to bring your legs super wide apart. So you're just going to work with your feet no wider than the legs of your chair. Please keep that in mind for yourselves. And then finally, and I'm going to finally get to the cushion here for you. I'm going to turn in the chair because we're going to talk about how to sit in the chair. It doesn't matter if it's a folding chair. It doesn't matter if it's your dining room or kitchen chair, if it's the chair at your desk, even your car seat, and even on a plane, because they're the worst seats. If you're not in first class, they are the worst seats, and I'm not in first class. All right. So people get in a chair, and I see this a lot. They tuck their feet under. Now, if you have knee issues, you just created more of a problem because you're creating hyperflexion of the knees. It's a big compression on the knees. So what I like to do is sit with my ankles slightly forward of my knees. Now, the cushion. The primary reason for me for the cushion is because I'm looking for all of you to have your acetabulofemoral joint of your hip. It's also known as the coxal joint, both sides, obviously, all right? We want that joint ever so slightly higher than the tibiofemoral joint of your knee. The reason is, and if you've ever watched people in a chair, particularly in a wheelchair, I see this where the chair is holding the person up, not the person holding themselves up. That's why I like bolsters, big, thick pillows behind you so that you are fully upright, because this movement, this slouching stuff, can actually aggravate sciatica issues at that lower back. It starts traveling down. Ditto piriformis syndrome, which travels down to the knee. So we don't want any of the slouching. Having the cushion sitting up a little higher will help. And this final adjustment I'd like you all to make while sitting there, even on that ball, Jean, because I do this when I do the work on the ball as well. You bring your hands underneath your buttock flesh. You pull your flesh not only straight back toward the wall behind you, but then you wick it out wide toward your shoulders. The next thing I'm going to do is rock side to side in this chair. What am I feeling for? I'm feeling for my sits bones. We call them sits bones in yoga, but anatomically, these are the ischial tuberosity that I'm feeling for. And I want to sit up and forward on the front edge of the ischial tuberosity. So that's my big tip on how to sit in a chair. Now, what are we going to do here today with this hip mobility in a chair class? Well, we're going to do a blend of yoga-based stretches, fitness stretches, a little bit of strength, just so that you can see different ideas on how to use that chair, but ultimately to help you open and massage and lubricate the hip joints. Just the words that Jean used, because this is why we want to do movement. Another tip here would be, because it's going to be a lot of stretching type work, we'll also be doing some twisting. My suggestion is no food at all for 2 to 3 hours prior to this style of class. Folks, this is not something that's going to tap your energy and, oh, I'm going to be exhausted if I don't eat. I do recognize there are some of you who must eat within certain hours due to medications, etc. That is fine. You follow that advice. But my suggestion to you folks would be to keep it light. Keep it like water-rich melon, just a little bit to make sure you're okay with the medication, etc. All right, so we're going to begin here now, and we're going to begin with what I always love to do, whether it's yoga or I'm strength training. I love to do movements that warm up the spine. So I'm going to turn here for you so you can see what we're going to do. All right. So I'm going to place my hands on the thighs. On the inhale, I'm going to slide my hands up to the top of the thigh, open the chest, roll the shoulders back, look up. Who doesn't look up? TIA stroke. Keep your head neutral. Now, on the exhale, for those of you with back spine flexion issues, you come to neutral while the rest of us hook our hands over the knees, round the spine, belly button in. We come into spine flexion. And then inhale, glide up into spine extension. It's like a gentle back bend. Exhale, round it. We're coming into basically a seated abdominal crunch. And again, all the breath is in and out through the nose. And then I'm going to hold here, and I'm going to really exaggerate this. Draw the belly button in. When you pull the belly button in toward the small of the back, you're really engaging that transverse abdominis muscle, the deepest of the core that actually partially wraps around to your lower back. And then we're going to sit on up. Let's take a couple of nice big shoulder rolls versus elbow pumps. No elbow pumps. Big shoulder rolls. We're going to get that blood flow, water, nutrients, and oxygen into your shoulders, into your neck. Now I'm going to stay here. Be careful here with carpal tunnel. This is that modified cobra, Bhujangasana. It's a back extension. I'm going to puff up the chest, maybe sit a little more forward, gives me a little bit more of a back bend, lifting up. Now, I'm not going to drop my head all the way back because it's not necessary. It actually feels uncomfortable because I'm not in a deep enough of a back bend to warrant it. But holding here, I like to do a little additional spine extension because real life is a lot of spine flexion. And then we come back to center. Take a breath. Now I'm going to turn in the chair, and I'm going to sit all the way back into the chair. My feet are only the width of the legs of the chair. Got it? Now I'm going to place my right hand onto the back right leg of the chair. I'm going to slide down. Watch what I don't do. I don't do this. I'm not collapsing my side organs down. It's not about how low I go. It's about taking your sternum and turning it toward the ceiling. I'm not turning and twisting. Now, if you have pinched nerve or rotator cuff, bring your left hand to your waist. The rest of us can bring the arm up and overhead. So I'm reaching up and over as I reach down, energy up and out through my left middle finger, energy down through the right. You have no idea how happy I am to see people moving with me. It's a beautiful thing. Push down into that left foot. Make sure your left glute is sealed into that chair, stretching the intercostal muscles between the ribs, responsible for 25% of your respiratory cycle. Now inhale, turn that palm up, grab an imaginary hook. Exhale, push down into your left foot, vigorously reach out to the left, and we're going to take it to the other side. If no issue with the shoulder, arm follows up and over. We're also stretching the internal and external oblique muscles of the abdominals, partially responsible for turning and twisting your torso, right? And then inhale, turn the palm up, grab a hook, push down into that right foot. Let's reach up and out to come to center. We've got one more movement. I want to tie all those movements together. And you do this through a type of rotation. Now in yoga, and I'm going to show it to you dramatically, we call this the Sufi grind, right? And it's simply doing rotation. But notice I'm going into flexion, right? So for those of you who cannot take the big movement or go forward, you're going to do it like this. And let me tell you something, folks. This is a lot of work abdominally, not to go into the forward flexion, but it is an option. I'm going to reverse direction. Whoa. So what's really going on? I'm doing spine extension, spine flexion, and lateral flexion, combining them all for the rotation here. Or you can be big and dramatic if that feels great to you. All right, just to show you a couple of ways how to do that. Now, coming back to center, I'm going to bring my legs super wide apart. Who doesn't do this? Osteoporosis of the hip, as well as hip replacement. Feet are turned out. Now, I'm going to place my arms. I have very long arms, so maybe you can't do this. You do what you can. I'm placing my arms so that the backs of my hands are facing my inner thighs. I'm not pushing on the inner knee. The patella, the kneecap, is not officially attached, and you can malalign it if you push hard into it. So what I'm doing is pressing, encouraging that external rotation from the hip joint, also known as a lateral rotation, while simultaneously stretching the hip adductor muscles of the inner thighs. Holding here, puff up the chest, breath in and out through the nose. Now, I'm going to invite my ball in for this one. Bringing it out in front. I am going to go into a spine flexion. Those of you who know not to do it, please don't do it. I'm going to walk the ball out. So now I'm going to really press with my own effort here, trying to reach the wall behind me with the thighs, knees tracking over second to third toe, reaching out in front. I am not rounding my spine at all here, folks. The chest is puffed up. The head is lifted. You always want to think about elongating the spine as opposed to breaking it where you round down. Head and chest up, belly button in. Now, this is a beautiful thing for those of you who might have the sciatica or piriformis syndrome. Walk the ball over to one foot. And I'm going to really go into the lower back muscles called the QL, the quadratus lumborum, directly behind the anterior muscle on the front side, which would be those hip flexor muscles, iliopsoas. And then I'm going to walk the ball back to center and hold. Try not to go faster than I do. This is about holding for a length of time as opposed to trying to rush through the movements. Pace yourselves, have patience with it as well. Walk the ball over to the opposite foot. Keep the chest up. So stretching all of this, breathing in and out. And one more time out in front, while the whole time holding hip adduction and lateral, aka external rotation. And then we walk the ball back in. I'm going to lift the ball up. And because when people sit for a long time, they can accumulate fluid in their ankles, in their calves, in their feet. I like to really pump the calves and really exaggerate heel toeing the feet in. Now, let me just set the ball off to the side. It might come rolling back at, there it goes. Wherever it goes, it goes. And now let's move into, I just want to double check myself. Yes, I'm going to grab a yoga block. I want you to take your block. If you don't have a block, use a pillow. Fold it up a little bit. Right between the knees. So we went from hip abduction away from the midline of the body, now toward the midline of the body in hip adduction. But I'm doing this with an isometric contraction of the hip adductor muscles of the inner thighs by pushing the legs together. Now we're going to take a twist. However, osteoporosis of the spine may have been told, don't twist, and if you've been told not to twist at all, don't twist at all. But if you've been told you can do a little bit of a twist, I'm going to show you how to do it here. You place your left hand to the outside of your right thigh. Your right palm goes directly on the hip joint, the acetabulofemoral joint, coxal joint. You push down into both feet, lift the head, roll that right shoulder back, and then turn your head. That's all you do for your twist. The rest of us, we are going to go deeper. This is lateral rotation of the shoulder. I got to get it right. Then I medially rotate to bring it behind me. Now you're going to see my hand on the opposite side of the chair. So you're going to grab a hold of that chair. I still have the head forward. Inhale, push down into both feet. Exhale, turn and twist and look over that shoulder. Make sure your shoulders are down. Belly button is drawn in. So this is a lot of work here, folks, that is excellent for both the large and small intestines. And then inhale, head forward. Exhale, torso, arm forward. Now we're going to take it to the other side. Remember, short for osteoporosis of the spine. Laterally rotate, inhale. Medially rotate. And I'm going to put right through the chair backing here. Sit tall, push down in both feet. Make sure that shoulder is rolled back. And then exhale, turn and twist. Breath in and out through the nose. Draw the belly button in. The more you draw that belly button in, the deeper into that transverse abdominis as well. And then inhale, turn the head forward. Exhale, torso, arm forward. Now, let me just tell you something. What we just did was so excellent for your colon because we began here with the ascending colon and then we ended with the descending colon. So for the ascending, this side, you see it as right, but it's actually my real left side. So technically, this is my ascending colon. This is the descending, but I taught it this way on purpose to help you because it's beautiful for digestion. Now I'm going to release the block and we're going to move into spine, hip flexion. So I'm going to sit back into the chair a little bit, bring my feet a little wider. Now, there's a concept of oppositional movement going on at all times. So I'm going to push down on the left, inhale, exhale, lift the right. I'm going to interlock my fingers and bring them underneath the thigh. I'm pulling the thigh in toward the chest. This is hip flexion. This is a movement that I highly recommend people do before they get out of bed in the morning on your back. Pull one knee at a time up into the chest. Again, we're stimulating into that ascending colon. All of this is going to help digestion as well. And now gently lower. But what if you don't have the strength to lift your own leg. Because I see a lot of this stuff. People like their head is over to the side, their arms are completely locked out. What you can do is use that strap, bring it underneath your thigh and lift. Just pull from your bicep. And here too, as I lift in toward me, it's my bicep muscles that are very much involved here because the elbow joint is flexed. And then slowly lower it. We're going to do it again, and I'm going to take it to the next level. If you have knee issues, I advise you not to take it to the next level. So I put my heel up on the seat. So this is a deep flexion here, right? But it's more compression into that ascending colon. It's also great for your lower back. So I'm going to hug that shin in. Just want to be careful with my microphone. And just hold here for a few moments. Breath in and out through the nose. Deep hip flexion. And then slowly lower it. We take it to the other side. Push down here to lift the opposite belly button in. Heel up on the seat. Wrap around. Notice I changed which arm is on top. All these little things you want to vary up with the body. Any chance you can kind of surprise it a little bit with what's coming next. And it happens to be great for you from a cognitive perspective as well. And then gently lower the foot down. Now, you can choose to use your bolster. Let me show you how you would use it. I think I'm going to choose not to for this particular exercise, but I want you to see it, okay? So you would put your bolster across your chair like this and sit back into it and still be upright. Now for this next one, what I'd like to do here is I'm going to sit back again. I'm going to push down in the left foot to lift the right. I'm going to lift it up just like I did before, but now I'm going to bring hip rotation into the movement. And I'm just making a big circle. And I'm gliding my toes along the floor. Maybe you don't reach the floor to be able to glide them there. That's okay. You can make it shorter. It's all right. A smaller movement. I'm going to reverse direction here. So this is hip rotation. One more. And lower down. And now let's take it to the other side. Push down here, lift the opposite. When you think that way with oppositional movement, what actually happens is you engage your core muscles deeper. The core muscles are not just the abdominals, folks. Reverse direction. Of course, they include the abdominals, but they're also the back erector muscles, pelvic floor muscles, also the gluteals and your quadriceps. And then we're going to set the leg back down. Now, from here, this is where we're going to bring in some of the work from a strength perspective. We're going to work on hip abduction, going away from the midline of the body into hip adduction, going toward the midline of the body. You're going to hold on to that chair, careful carpal tunnel, how you grab. You're going to bring your legs up. Now you're with the feet flexed. Technically, it's called dorsiflexed. When the feet are pointed, that's plantar flexion. So I want your feet to be dorsiflexed, knees are straight, legs are up. Holding on, you open out into hip abduction. You slowly come in toward adduction. Now, please do not go wider than the legs of the chair with your outer thighs. We keep the movement small. So for osteoporosis of the hip and hip replacement, this could be a good option for you, but it's a great option for all of us. Now, you will see in a gym a machine that is a hip abductor and a hip adductor, and sometimes it's one machine or two machines side by side. They're both incorrect in a gym because these things are set way too wide apart. So what happens is when you flail your legs open wide, you're no longer on the gluteal muscle, nor even on the outer thigh muscle of the vastus lateralis. You are on a tiny little hip muscle called the tensor fasciae latae. And that thing will fire up and be painful with overly doing it. Now notice how I talk you through this because I want 10 of each movement when you go to work this. So we're going to do, let's try 2 more of each. Pause, slow to close, hip abduction, abduction away from the midline, hip adduction, adduction toward the midline. And let's lower the legs down. So maybe you feel, wow, I had a huge isometric contraction going on in my quadriceps. Yes, you did. So here's a couple of little massage tips. I'm a massage therapist. You place your hands on your thighs and you just want to, with your fingertips lightly, even a little bit with your palms, but very lightly, just move the flesh a bit. Just move it from side to side. If you find that, let's say you are weightlifting and your thighs are really talking to you, you make a soft fist. You don't want to hurt anybody. You don't want to hurt yourself, especially if you're on blood thinners, okay? So you want to do a percussion movement. Just very gently. I'm on the sides of my hands and I'm doing it up and down on the thighs. All right, it's a percussive type movement. So now I'm going to ask you to sit forward on your chair. I'm going to turn around in the chair. I'm going to ask you to do the same. Now, if you have issues, vestibular challenges with your balance, this part I don't want you to do, okay? So what I'm doing here is, first off, when I'm on the chair, I'm making sure that the side edge of the seat is directly behind my knee or touching my calf muscle. Depends upon your height. My outside glute is not on the chair. So that's why you need to be super careful here. I'm holding on to that chair with my inside arm. My outside hand goes to the seat between my legs. Now I'm going to come up onto the ball of the outside foot and I'm going to glide it back because what we need to do is hip extension. And the extension will imply a bit of a back bend. Now, if you feel, hey, I feel pretty good with this, I want you to notice I lift myself a little bit. What I just did was pull the inside hip back, the outside hip forward to square off my pelvis. From here, I bring the outside arm up. You don't have to do this. TIA stroke, head neutral, please. You can release if you're really steady. You're not going to fall off the chair. You can also create a steeple. As much as I push back through the back heel, I'm pushing down into the front foot, reaching up through my index fingers. It's a crescent lunge, a variation on what's called Anjaneyasana. And then inhale, hands to the heart. Exhale, grab the chair. Now, slowly on the top of the foot, slide the foot forward, and then sit fully on the chair, turn around and face the opposite direction. Make sure the back of that knee is up against that edge of the seat, might be touching your calf. Now lifting up onto the ball of the back foot, outside glute off of the chair, holding on. I slide my foot back. Hello, ball. I'm greeting the ball and pulling inside hip back, outside hip forward, square off the pelvis, hip extension. And if you want, if you're very, very comfortable, if you're remotely not uncomfortable, I should say, please don't. It's not needed. I'm just showing you where you can take it if you wish. Variation on Anjaneyasana, crescent lunge. Breath in and out through the nose. And then inhale, hands to the heart. Exhale, hands to the seat. Come up onto the top of the foot, slide in, get on your chair before you turn forward. And now I'm going to do that wide-legged Sufi grind just to release the back a bit. Take your time. And are you breathing? You can keep it small or big, right? Remember your options. Always apply the modifications. That's why I like people to observe first. Come back to center, slowly roll up, exaggerate the feet and ankles and calves. Now, I'm going to take my 2 blocks and I'm stacking them, and they will be facing you so that I'm placing the sides of my feet on the blocks. Get back in that chair. Now, let me show you something here. Let me grab this thing, and I'm going to put it behind me because this is going to be a nice touch for those of you with pinched nerve and rotator cuff issues, okay? For the shoulders. So first off, just lean back and just let it go. Oh, it's just delicious. It's just a beautiful movement. So we're stretching those hip adductor muscles. You are in a lateral rotation, external rotation of the hip, opening up the chest. Breath in and out through the nose. For those who want to, you can sit up, arms up, and down. So let's show some love to the glenohumeral joints of your shoulders. So when you move, you're always going to bring blood, water, oxygen, and nutrients to your tissue, to your joints. And now let's hold for this one. Keep it elbows rounded. I'm not looking to go as high as possible. My palms are facing the ceiling. I want you to have a nice long neck. Right, so you want to depress the shoulders a little bit, Jean. Drop them down and lift your head up to neutral. That's it. There you go. And then slowly lower the arms down, and you're just going to draw the knees together. Now, for some of you, you can keep the bolster, you can keep the blocks, because I want you to be able to grab your foot. And if you can't, I need to show you something. So I'm going to set the blocks and the bolster off to the side, all right? And I'm going to grab that yoga strap so you can see how to use it. And then I'm going to get rid of the strap because I'm going to show you how not to use it too. Okay, so we're going to take the strap, see if you can try to get it even on both sides. Bring it around the ball of your foot. Push down in my left to lift my right. So what? Hip flexion, right? But I want to take hip flexion along with knee extension. So this way you get the nice stretch on the back of the leg. You pull on the strap from biceps. You don't do this stuff, folks. You let the biceps work. Now let me show you how you would do it if you don't need to use a strap. Push down on the left, lift the right. Peace fingers, man, okay? You wedge them between the big and second toe. Left hand to waist, inhale, exhale. So I've got my elbow bent. You'll see in just a moment. I'm going to hold here first, straight out in front. Now I'm going to tie in, hello, hip abduction. There's the bend at the elbow. I don't want this. I want bicep helping you. Push down in that left foot to keep yourself lifted. You can go like this if you want as well. And then from here, I'm going to take it into hip adduction. Oh, man. Left hand to the outer arch of the right foot. You can bring right hand to waist. What I'm stretching is we have some vastus lateralis of the outer thigh, gluteal, and the lateral rotators, including that pesky piriformis that can really act out on people. If you want, you can bring your arm up, take a big twist. Who doesn't take a big twist? Osteoporosis of the spine. Breath in and out through the nose. Inhale, head forward. Exhale. I'm going to bring the leg in. Opposite hand comes across, crisscross. Inhale, knee to chest. Let's see, can we get that leg up higher? Exhale, hold. Breath in and out through the nose. You can support the bend of the knee by slowly lowering the foot down. Push down, inhale, exhale, peace fingers, hand to waist. Inhale, hip flexion with exhale, knee extension. Holding here. This is not about collapsing. I want you to hold yourselves up. Even if the bolster is behind you to help you stay up, please don't slouch on the work. If you slouch, lower the leg down. All right. We're going to take it out here now to the side. Push out through the heel, pull with the strong left bicep, reach out with the right hand, push down in that right foot. Lengthen and lift your spine, hip abduction. Inhale, exhale, hip adduction. And oh, this is, for me on this side, it's like, oh my goodness gracious. And inhale the arm up. Let's take a twist if you wish. And exhale. Again, all good stuff for your intestines and your colon. And inhale, head forward. Exhale, come back in. Knee to chest, inhale. Exhale, can it go higher? Maybe yes, maybe no. It depends, without leaning back. And then inhale, knee to chest. Exhale, lower down. For one final movement, we're going to do that medial rotation from the hip, lateral rotation of the hip. Just take a couple on each thigh and leg. So the thigh is obviously the muscle, but it's also the part anatomically that is from above your knee to the top of the hip. And then the leg is from below the knee down to the top of the ankle. I'm going to take it to the other side, push down, lift, and medial and lateral rotation. It feels so good. And just going with the flow and setting the foot down. And that's what we have for you today, Jean. Thank you so much, everybody. I appreciate you. If you have any questions, I'm open to them if they have.
Well, first of all, that was amazing. I just have to say, oh my gosh, you just are incredible.
Thank you.
So we had one comment. I have tight hip flexors, so sometimes they're tight when I do these kinds of moves. So I
This is the
suggested,
one she needs to work on. So here's the drill. I want you to pay careful attention to the seat height, because if that hip is not riding higher than your knee, you're going to continue to have problems with hip flexors, because when we sit, we're in kind of a hip flexion, right? But if you are with this hip joint lower than the knee, there's really way too much, and it's pulling this. It's going to cause this to happen, and that makes all of this even tighter, right? So the biggest, do you sit a lot during the day for whatever reasons? Do you tend to sit a lot? I suggest to my clients, set an alarm every 20 to 30 minutes. Get up, get up. And you know what I just did here before in the beginning? The cat-cow is really what it is from yoga, and it's spine extension, spine flexion. When you sit a lot, when you get up, do the movements standing. Do them standing, because you free up the back, and this will actually also help the hip flexors. Because remember what I said before about the movement that we have the ball out to the side, hitting, and it's going to stretch your quadratus lumborum. Bar none. If people have hip flexors, that QL is super tight and it's really pulling you down. It's going to, because the muscles are here, down to here, and in toward your lower back, your spine. So the lumbar spine. So it's going to do this kind of thing. It's going to make this happen. All right. So when you take this, we're flexing those hip flexors even more. You need to stretch both your QLs and your hip flexors. The muscles are like this. back to back, back to back. One posterior side, QL, the other anterior side would be the iliopsoas, right? So one of the things that you can also do, I did it in the chair, you can also do it standing, is the QL is involved in lateral flexion. Notice I'm not pushing hip out, down and over, down and over, all right? And any kind of deeper back bend would be helpful for you too. Concurrently stretching here and also getting the QL to do its job, not pull you down into a slouch. I hope that helps.
Well, Angela, once again, thank you so much for
Oh,
your,
you're so welcome.
you're
Thank
like Gumby. I mean, you're so flexible and I'm jealous. So I have things to work on. Clearly.
We all do. Trust me. Trust me. My right side, I'm like, when I do that stretch over, I'm like, I really feel it. But, such is life. We're challenged with some things, and that's okay.
Well, thank you for tonight. I'm so grateful as always. And for those of you tuning in, I appreciate that too. And if you can, do subscribe to my YouTube channel. I would be grateful. So,
And may I say, is it okay for me to ask as well if they would be interested in subscribing to my free monthly newsletter, because you'll get more links to yoga and strength training workouts, also fitness tips and tricks. Last month, I featured Jean and one of her recipes in the newsletter. I'll put in animal pet rescue. This time out, for this month, I'm featuring Linda Middlesworth and V-Dog. I try to just promote other people in the community and what they're doing and introduce the different types of recipes as well. So it's not only fitness, but you will receive a gift. For signing up, if you subscribe, you will receive a link to a workout I created.
where do they subscribe? Where do they go?
Okay, so now you go to boomerandbeyondwellness.com and you go to the subscribe tab on my website.
Beautiful. There you go.
All right, thank you. Thank you for letting me say that. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you as always. I appreciate you. And we'll see you hopefully back again soon.